The mobile armors are rising in this week's episode of Mobile Suit Gundam, Iron-Blooded Orphans. The Calamity War returns to the present in this week's episode of IBO, the rise of the mobile armors. That's right. This week's episode arguably, I think, is one of the most interesting aspects of Iron-Blooded Orphans thus far, and I know a lot of people are not going to like this because apparently a lot of people did not like Gundam Age all that much. But there were mobile suits and mobile armors in that series, which were very reminiscent of some of the stuff that we see in this episode right here. I'm talking about unmanned mobile armors, which are so powerful that according to McGillis Farid, mobile suits were created simply just to destroy them. What this essentially means is that Tekkadan has access to two super-powered weapons, which sort of work on their very own steam. Whenever they see another mobile suit, they suddenly activate and go berserk. That one they found with the big red eye that kind of looks like a giant freaking spider, and this one other mysterious mobile armor which appears at the end of this episode, which looks like a freaking Metal Gear Ray. One of the coolest things about this episode for me is how you have these three different forces which are converging on one another. You have McGillis Farid, who's trying to go to Mars in secret to tell Tekkadan about what's going on with these mobile armors, saying that these mobile armors were the cause of the Calamity War in the past, and he's going to do everything in his power to destroy these things, because if he does, he'll be able to get this super high ultimate rank in Galahorn, and no one will be able to question his rule. And then you have Tekkadan, who's trying to experiment on these mobile armors, trying not to get killed in the process, and halfway through the episode, one of them starts to go to berserk, and at the end of the episode, when Rustall and Eok and their group arrive on Mars, they're spotted by that one half-buried mobile armor, which suddenly just erupts into the sky like a super pissed off dragon. It's some of the coolest imagery that I've seen from the series, and I'm really starting to want to know what actually happened during this whole Calamity War, why there were these like unmanned mobile armors which were so powerful. Maybe they developed their very own consciousness and went insane, a la Terminator. Maybe they were created by an opposing force and simply just cannot be shut off. Maybe they were, dare I say it, created by aliens. All I know is I'm incredibly hyped for the next episode to see how they're going to combat these brand new mobile armors, which are supposedly incredibly powerful, and that tends to be the case for a lot of Mobile Suit Gundam anime series. Mobile armors are always these massive weapons of pure raw destruction, which are supposed to outdo the mobile suits, despite the fact that mobile suits themselves are incredibly mobile, hence their frigging name. So what's the rundown on this week's episode of Iron-Blooded Orphans? I cannot wait to see the next episode. I'm most interested to see what McGillis Farid is going to do. I mean, it's very obvious that he is trying to achieve the ultimate rank within Galahorn, but I still feel that there's some sort of ulterior motive in mind. Some of this might have to do with that Ognika Kairu guy. Vidar is onto McGillis Farid's game, and that makes sense, as there's like still a 99% chance that that's actually Gaelio. But clearly the biggest thing about this episode are those unmanned mobile armors of pure and raw destruction. The fact that they activate upon seeing a mobile suit is pretty scary when you think about it, and there's a good chance that if they actually manage to get away from this battle, they could somehow recover the other mobile armors and bring back this force of pure and raw destruction, which might actually force all forces to come together so that they can take down this threat. Basically give them a common goal. But I still don't feel that's going to go down. This could be just a slight deviation for the series, fighting against the mobile armors before we move on to the next part, which is going to be all about McGillis Farid's overall plan to take over freaking everything, and doing it with a shit-eating grin on his face. And if it wasn't apparent enough in last week's episode, there's a lot of people who work directly under Teiwaz who just do not agree with what Naze has been doing with Tekkadan. In fact, it's actually that guy by the name of Jazly. He's actually responsible for letting Rustall and his team know that McGillis is going to be going to Mars in secret. So I imagine there's going to be a big confrontation between these two groups, and I wonder how much of a repercussion that's going to have for Teiwaz as well. They could literally be destroying it from the inside for all we know. But damn, am I excited to see those mobile armors in action. They have really cool designs, and I can't wait to see what they're like in battle. I can't wait to see Mikazuki go up against one of these guys. It's gonna be great. And so was this week's episode of Iron-Blooded Orphans, which went in a direction that I honestly did not expect. This whole thing with the mobile armors is a really interesting story prospect, and not only that, but there's also a lot of teasing. We got to see more of Gundam Flauros in this episode, and I didn't expect it to be pink. You know, I don't have a problem with pink. I think it's a pretty cool color, and it can work in certain senses. Just, I never seemed it would be attached to a Gundam. This is like something you'd see in Gundam Build Fighters, but again, they're still keeping it really secret, just putting it in shadow and everything, just trying to get the viewer really excited for its inevitable reveal in the series. But that being said, this was a great episode of Iron-Blooded Orphans. I loved this one right here. Just the amount of shock on everyone's face at the end of this week's episode is pretty much how I think most viewers are going to feel when they watch this one. Just, I don't think anybody could have seen this coming. And I love that we're finally starting to learn a little bit more about the Calamity War. It's very reminiscent of Turna Gundam, or even Gundam X, where there was this massive confrontation in the past, and all of this forbidden technology was hidden away from mankind, and they'd no longer have any access to it, and they're finally starting to bring it back, and in a way it's like they opened up the freaking Ark of the Covenant. It's the worst thing they could have possibly done. So, great episode of Iron-Blooded Orphans. Make sure to check it out, Gundam fans. I'm giving this week's episode a 5 out of freaking 5. I loved it, but I want to hear from you guys. Make sure to tell me what you thought about it in the comments section below, and what you hope to see from the rest of the second season of Iron-Blooded Orphans. Thank you guys for watching this review. I really appreciate it. Make sure to subscribe to the channel. If you liked the video, please give it a like and leave me a comment or two. I will see you next time, and as always, stay dandy, baby.